Hey, it's Thomas DeLauer with eFit, and today I want to talk about that all-important mineral, magnesium. I view magnesium as sort of the ugly stepchild. We're always focusing on sodium, we're always focusing on potassium, but we never give magnesium the attention that it really deserves. Because when it comes down to it, magnesium is really the core master mineral of our bodies. It functions so much when it comes to digestion, your nervous system, your respiratory function, your circulatory system. It really is quite literally the master mineral. And unfortunately, about 80% of Americans are deficient in it. So how can you identify that you have a magnesium deficiency? We're going to talk about 7 ways that you can quickly see if you have a magnesium deficiency. And then we're going to talk about a couple ways that you can correct that if you do. So first and foremost, if you're craving chocolate. And we're talking about the dark chocolate. We're talking about the dark kind of chocolate that's kind of bitter, because that dark chocolate contains a lot of magnesium in it, 24% of the recommended daily allowance, and your body's naturally going to crave what it needs. So I'm not talking about craving a Snickers bar, I'm talking about craving some good, deep, dark chocolate. That's usually a telltale sign. The next one we want to talk about is anxiety. And I don't mean just acute bouts of anxiety that are coming up really quick. I'm talking about anxiety that sort of came on more recently but isn't really going away, and there's no real reason to why you have it. You see, magnesium affects the nervous system, and it affects the body and the mind, and it affects the mind's way of basically the electrical impulses that affect the mind. So when your magnesium is low, your brain is getting signals from all the wrong places. This can make you nervous, and since magnesium is sort of a natural antidepressant, sort of a natural relaxing agent, you're deficient in that, you're going to suffer from some anxiety. Next, we want to talk about muscle spasms and muscle cramps. And you've probably heard that when you get some kind of muscle spasm or some kind of muscle cramp that you're supposed to eat a banana and get some potassium. And that's true. I mean, potassiums will help that balance of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, but more often than not, it's a magnesium issue. So if you're suffering from chronic muscle spasms and chronic muscle cramps, that's a good sign that you have a magnesium deficiency, which kind of leads into the next symptom. If you're suffering from some constipation, because we have to look at everything the same way. We've got the intestinal tract, and that is going to spasm and cramp just like muscles are if there's an electrolyte or a mineral imbalance. And when the intestinal tract contracts involuntarily and squeezes too hard, it prevents the digestion from occurring. Therefore, you're going to get constipated. So that's another sign that you could be deficient in magnesium. And now we're going to talk about not being able to sleep. You see, that same reason that magnesium deficiency can cause some anxiety can also cause insomnia. Because the way that the spasms kind of work, just like in your muscles, it's sending electrical impulses to your brain, because those minerals are so important to the electrical charges that are hitting your brain that when they're inaccurate or they're spasming and they're not functioning in the way that they should, different portions of your brain will activate even when you're asleep, which kicks you right out of that important REM sleep that you need to get the most recovery and to get the best results from your workouts and to get the best results from your nutrition. And in addition to that, we talk about high blood pressure. So the same way that we talk about the muscles contracting, the bowels contracting, and the spasming nervous system, the same thing happens in your arterial wall and your veins. And when that happens, you're limiting the space that the blood can flow through, which means that you're going to get an increase in blood pressure. So if you suffer from some high blood pressure, there's a good chance that you have a magnesium deficiency as well. Simply because the body is working so hard to pump blood through the arterial wall, which is shrinking and casting pressure upon the wall, which isn't good for the artery at all, and it's definitely not good for your heart. And that leads into the final symptom that you should be looking for, and that's a heart arrhythmia. And sometimes it's hard to notice, but if you really pay attention, you might notice that your heart isn't beating consistently. Maybe it's got a little bit of a flutter. Maybe it's not beating as consistently as it should. Well, that again is a telltale sign of a magnesium deficiency, simply because the heart is a muscle. Just like your bicep, just like your quadricep, it's going to respond to any kind of contraction, any kind of spasm, the same way a regular muscle would, which means that the heart can cramp and can spasm and cause a short, irregular heartbeat. So there you have it. You've got 7 things to look at to identify if you've got a magnesium deficiency. But how do we correct it? The first thing I want you to do is to start eliminating some of the refined sugars. Refined sugars, processed sugars, they're shown to deplete magnesium stores in the body. We have to start eliminating those. And the simple fact is that the more refined and processed foods that we have in our system, the less room that we have to get the proper minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, everything that we need to really function and have all our core body functions working efficiently and effectively. But one of the things that I recommend you do is start having one green drink a day. Even if it's one bunch of kale or one bunch of spinach and you're just throwing it in a blender and mixing it together, just that alone is going to get you enough minerals to help that magnesium deficiency. But other than that, magnesium supplements are so easy to come by. You can find magnesium pills on the shelf of just about any store, and you don't really need much because the body is craving it so much that just a little bit goes a long way. So I promise you that if you identify these issues with the magnesium deficiency and you correct it, you're gonna have more energy. You're gonna have more energy in the gym, you're gonna have more energy in the kitchen, and you're gonna feel so much clearer so that you're gonna be able to make the right decisions and achieve the fitness goals and be that much closer to being the best version of yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.